Hello friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my series in which I use tarot spreads to help me explore topics related to living an intentional life. And, as usual, I have a beautiful spread prepared for you. Beautiful because the deck creators created beautiful work. So, let's take a look at the spread and then talk about it briefly. These cards are, I have to say it, beautiful. The spread is beautiful. The cards individually are gorgeous artwork, but they also look beautiful together, and they look meaningful together, which I believe is even more important. And if you're curious about who made which deck, there will be information at the end of the video telling you the names of the creators of the decks. And there will be links in the description below if you want to go and purchase one or all of these decks on your own. Just a little information. I trimmed the two tarot decks myself. So if you purchase them, they will look a little bit different. I trimmed the borders off of the sides of the two tarot decks. And I like that better, but they look well enough with the borders. So take a look. So friends, we've got the tarot spread nicely laid out. You've had a peek at it. Let's take a look at the three oracle cards in the center and delve into that main message first, before we look at the questions. Let's take a look. These three oracle cards are what inspired me to title this video From Breakdown to Breakthrough. The first card is Spirit Heals. The next, the Moon, and the third, Breakthrough. So you see where I got Breakthrough. But to get to Spirit Heals, I think we first needed a breakdown. So we have the breakdown, then Spirit Heals, then we have the Moon, and then we go to a breakthrough, which is where we want to usually be. We want to get from our breakdown into some kind of a breakthrough, don't we? However, I think the breakthrough indicated in this spread is perhaps going to be a little bit surprising for you. But let's take a look. So let's start with the implied beginning of this spread, the breakdown. Yeah, things happen to us. When living an intentional life, things happen to us. People happen to us. From the most privileged of us to the least privileged of us, there are times when we have breakdowns. And each of our experiences are valid. Our breakdowns are not an indication that we are not worthy, or that we are unable, or that we are not deserving, or that we are less than anyone else. Breakdowns happen. Living an intentional life, we can we can know that there will be times when we will have breakdowns, because we are living in a physical universe as human beings. And that's okay. The breakdown has to be okay because there's no way around it. Because it actually helps us to evolve. A child who never falls never learns. A child who never makes a mistake or perhaps fails on a quiz or in a test never really learns. If we think that we know everything that we need to know, we cannot evolve. We eventually stagnate, and stagnation leads to death. We want to evolve. And evolving, the process of evolving is breaking down and rebuilding and breaking down and rebuilding. The number 10 Wheel of Fortune card in a tarot deck. Yeah, it's that cycle of breaking down and rebuilding and breaking down and rebuilding. So we want to accept. We don't want to resist. We want to accept breakdowns, because if we resist them, they will only become more menacing for us in our futures, in our presence as well. So we accept the breakdown. We accept the breakdown, and we know that we want to heal, because that's part of the growth process. That's part of the evolution process. That's part of the learning. Now, the first step is to heal. And Spirit heals us. Even when we're not aware of it, Spirit is always healing us. Why? For one thing, because there is never any separation between us and Spirit. Have you heard of the dark night of the soul? The dark night of the soul is a real thing. It's a real thing and has been described for centuries. Yeah? The first person who published about it, I believe, was St. John of the Cross, probably in the 1600s. I think he was the one who coined the phrase dark night of the soul. It's a time when we feel disconnected from God or Spirit or Divine Mother or Allah or Brahman or whatever we want to call that. It's that time of spiritual deadness. Yeah? And it's a valid feeling. The feeling of the dark night of the soul, feeling disconnected from Spirit, is a valid feeling, and we want to validate and accept and recognize that, and have empathy for those who might be going through it. However, no matter how valid the feeling is, it does not mean that it is the truth. We are not experiencing the truth. The truth is we are never separated from Spirit. It's impossible to be separated from Spirit, because that's all there is. All of this stuff that we call matter is within Spirit, is from Spirit. It's a manifestation of Spirit, not separated from it, but within Spirit, within God, within Allah, within Brahman, within the Great Mother, within the universal consciousness, whatever we want to call that. We are always more than connected. Because connected also implies that there is a separation that could be disconnected. We're more than connected. We are Spirit. So we cannot be disconnected from what we are. So Spirit is always healing us. Spirit is always here with a metaphoric hug. We are always embraced by Spirit. The question is how open we are to accepting it, to realizing it, to feeling it, to receiving it. Because we have free will. We have the free will to resist that embrace. We can't cut ourselves off from it, but we can put up barriers around ourselves that block our feeling of connection. It doesn't separate us, but it blocks our feeling of connection. However, that healing embrace of Spirit is always there. And that Spirit can be God, that Spirit can be us. Yeah, the fullness of us. The eternal us that is right now having this human experience. We are healed by Spirit. So the first step is to allow. Now, when we have that breakthrough, when we break down, we want to allow ourselves to crack open. Does that make sense to you? We protect ourselves so much. We have a breakdown and we barricade ourselves up. We protect ourselves even more strongly. What we want to do is crack open, because if we crack open in safety, in our safe area, our safe space, We don't want to crack open when there's somebody running at us with a knife, for example. That's not what I'm saying. But after we've gone through the breakdown, after we've gone through the breakdown, and we've gotten to somewhere safe, then we want to allow ourselves to crack open, to receive the healing of spirit. We want to receive that embrace of spirit. And when we do, we can heal. We can heal much, perhaps not all. Well, we can heal all, but usually we are unwilling to crack open that far. We'll crack open enough so that our conscious minds and the emotions that we are aware of, those areas, we allow them to be healed by spirit. But there's always that stuff underneath, gurgling and burgling, what we call the unconscious mind, that we very, very, very rarely will crack open widely enough for spirit to heal that deeply. There are times, and when we do crack open that much, we call that enlightenment. That's what, for example, Buddha did. Buddha cracked open completely and shed all of his illusions about what this is. And so, spirit healed him completely. And he became Buddha. But very few of us will allow ourselves to crack open that far. So, we crack open just enough so that we can survive. Which is okay. That's okay. While we do want to fulfill our purpose of enlightening, self-enlightenment, self-actualization in this lifetime, it's okay if we don't. No one's going to judge us if we don't. Yeah? And most people don't, and that's okay. However, we can still evolve. And the next step of evolution, as we see in this 3-card spread, is the moon. Now let me give you a little talk on the moon. Many readers read the moon very differently from me. Many readers see the moon as illusion, and something that we want to avoid or see past or see through. A lot of readers see the moon as darkness, as falsehood, as incorrect perception. Now, if the moon when I read in reversals, and I do, if the moon is reversed, yes, I would totally agree with that. The moon in reversal would be all of those things. It would be illusion. It would be misunderstandings. It would be misperceptions. It would be perhaps even fear. However, upright, I read the moon in a much more positive light. Personally, I'm not that afraid of the dark anymore. I was scared when I was 5, sure. When I was in 3rd grade, for example, and there was a lightning storm and thunder, I got scared. I got scared of the dark. However, I survived that lightning storm, that one of them that I really remember. My mother was not there, and I was terrified all night. And I remember that very clearly. However, I got over it. And the dark doesn't scare me anymore. I love the dark. In fact, there are times I love the dark more than I love the light. Not because I think that I'm trying to resist the light, like I'm not trying to resist the light of spirit or God's light. That's not what I'm saying. There are times when I enjoy the rest of the darkness rather than the energy of the light. And there are times when I really, really get excited by the energy of the sun and bright lights and all of that. And clear vision, detailed vision. Being able to see the minutiae. However, no matter how much light there is, we also need to realize that we are not seeing clearly. Our eyes, our human eyes, do not see clearly, however sharp they are. However we determine the sharpness of our eyes are. The sharpness of our eyes is, the sharpness of our eyes is. Our perception of our perception is not correct. Because our eyes cannot see as well as other animals' eyes. Our eyes see better than some other animals' eyes. For example, our eyes see better than a worm can see or a mole can see. However, there are insects and there are other animals who have much better vision than us. So, if they see more clearly than we do, what does that say about the clarity of our vision? We don't have the clarity of vision that we think we have, even in the brightest of light. So that distinction of the sun being clear vision and the moon being false perception, I think, is a false distinction. They're just different gradients of perception. And yes, in the light, in the sun, we see with detail, with specificity, we see the minutiae. In the moon, we have a more gentle vision, I believe. The vision of intuition, where we, instead of seeing detail and specifics, we see patterns, we see generalities, we see shapes and the way shapes interact with each other. Yeah? In the sun, we see the trees. In the moon, we see the forest. And seeing the forest is also an important aspect of perception. So, for me, the moon card is seeing broadly, seeing softly, seeing gentle patterns, and also allowing in the darkness some things that would not arise in the light to come up. Yeah, it's the light of intuition for me. It's the light of having things arise from the depths that would not arise in the harsh rays of the sun. The sun card is wonderful. It's joy, it's brilliance, and it can be harsh to some. The moon card is soft and gentle. And it can be a little bit lonely, frankly. The moon card can be a little lonely. In some cards we see, in the Rider-Waite Smiths, we see dogs howling at the moon. Yeah, there's a certain sense of loneliness there as well. Because we are seeing with ourselves, not with others so much. So here, what do I see? I see the moon card. After we are healed from in the gentle darkness of spirit. Yeah? The healing side of spirit, I believe, is dark. It's warm. It's a blanket that's covering you, giving you comfort in gentle darkness. And then we have a little bit of gentle light for us to see gently and observe what we are experiencing gently. Instead of a harsh inbreak of light, we have a gentle vision. And a vision in which things can arise from below. We can start to see some of those things that might have caused us to have the breakthrough. Or break down, I'm sorry. I keep wanting to shoot for the breakthrough. Break down. Because those things that we meet in the outer world that cause us pain, that cause us disruption, are mirrors of things that we have, elements that we have of of content that we have in our subconscious. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother us. If we were fully actualized without any dark shadow, I don't want to say shadow because there are parts of shadow that are beneficial. But if we didn't have scary monsters down there, if we were completely, fully enlightened and actualized, if someone came up to us and started yelling in our faces, we would look at them and we'd say, oh, that poor person is screaming in so much pain. We'd hear those insults perhaps, and we'd see the pain in the other person. However, what happens is they come yelling at us, and the scary monster within us reacts to it. We notice that. It's a reflection, it's a mirror of those things within us. And so we react, we feel, we suffer, and we break down. Sometimes we break down. We don't always break down when somebody yells at us, but sometimes the yelling is too much and we break down. Or other things happen and we break down because we feel something from within us that tells us that we can't go on. So, after the healing of spirit, we look gently around us. Yeah, we start to perceive around us again. And then in that darkness, we allow whatever might have been triggered to arise if we can. And we can engage in the healing process ourselves. Yeah, that healing that we received from spirit, we can transmute. We can, what is that called? We can move from one place to another. We can move into our subconscious area and heal, perhaps, that scary monster that we were holding within. And as that scary monster that we were holding within heals, that scary monster becomes our friend, becomes our strength, becomes part of our team, if you will, our team of personality aspects that we can employ when we interact in the world. Those monsters, when we heal those monsters, or those what many people call the shadow within us, when we heal that, they become our team of players, our co-workers, our co-creators within us. They become our light, our inner light. And then we move to the breakthrough, finally the breakthrough. And in this card, usually when we think of a breakthrough, we think of a wall thing that perhaps we've built in front of ourselves, and then we have a breakthrough. Yeah? Or there's a problem that is a wall that is in front of us, and we break through, we break out into the world. In this card, the breakthrough, did you notice, was someone breaking through the surface of the water, breaking through to the depths, not breaking through up into the world, but breaking through down. And that's where we want to go. After we've gently surveyed the land and we feel healed to a certain extent, when we feel strong enough, then we want to break through into our subconscious, into that ocean of unconscious content. Because, yes, there are things that we think of as scary monsters down there, sure, certainly. And we want to try to allow ourselves to heal those, certainly. But there are also gems down there. There's treasure down there. There are things that we no longer have allowed ourselves to do. There are talents that we have no longer allowed ourselves to express. There is love that we have hidden down there. There is joy that we have hidden down there. Have you seen a very, 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 very grumpy person? I mean, someone who is not just grumpy now for a day, for a week, yeah, had a bad experience and grump, 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 and grump, but someone who is just living the grumpy life. And have you thought, well, that person has lost all of their joy. They have lost all of their happiness. They have lost all of their love. And that is not the truth. That is not the truth. We cannot lose those things because those are who we are. We are love. We are joy. We are well-being. We can't lose those things because they are who we are. However, what we do is we bury them. We bury them because they've been beat up in the past. So we bury them to hide them from the world and even from ourselves. We bury all that goodness down there as a way of protecting ourselves from what we perceive as the evil or the pain in the world. So we want to break through. We want to break through into that depth and search around and look for that joy that is there, that love that is there, and the scary monsters. And when we find a scary monster, if we can, envelop it with love, envelop it with the healing touch that we received from Spirit. We can relate that healing touch ourselves to our scary monsters. We can hug our scary monsters into health. And that's what this spread is beginning with. Now, when we have our breakdown, allow ourselves to be healed by Spirit as much as we can. And then as we emerge from that embrace and we start to tentatively look around, don't go for the bright light of the sun, go for the soft light of the moon. So our eyes can adjust again. And look around, see the general shapes, the general outlines of where we are. See what may be there beneath the surface of the water. Yeah, this card looks like it's a reeds and a swamp in the moon card. Look down there. What's down there? And then when we feel strong enough, break through into the unconscious, into the subconscious, and look around. Really look around. That will be part of our evolutionary process. Let's take a look at the 4 questions around this central spread because they're also very meaningful questions. The first question is, how can I shine more brightly? Which, isn't that an interesting thing to move from the darkness into now, how can I shine more brightly? Now, aren't I begging for the sun to come back? Perhaps, but not the sun from outside. How can I shine more brightly? And I think this is what moves from that breakthrough. When we break into the subconscious, the next question is, as I'm looking around here, how can I shine more brightly from here? How can I shine more brightly? How do you shine more brightly? How do you experience yourself shining more brightly? We have 2 answers for this spread. The first one is the Dreamer Princess, which is the Page of Swords. And the next one is the Star. Beautiful cards and beautiful answers to this question, especially moving from a breakthrough into the subconscious. How can I shine more brightly? The Dreamer or Page of Swords, the Princess Dreamer. Yeah? Did you notice that there is a figure with leaves swirling around them, the wind blowing, clearing out old ideas, dead ideas? We can think of those leaves as dead ideas, things that just need to be swirled around and cleared out. The Page of Swords is the incarnation of new ideas, of curiosity, of a thirst for knowledge. And that's how we begin shining more brightly, yeah? With curiosity, with a thirst for inner knowledge, a thirst for knowing what we have down there, and looking there and discovering new ideas from that unconscious area. That's where our new ideas come from. Now they percolate and simmer and merge together and split apart and generate and recreate all down there in the subconscious, and then they emerge as a new idea. It's also looking for new ways of communicating, because a new idea, curiosity, a thirst for knowledge is nothing if we're not able to communicate it. Now, if we keep everything here within this, what we consider our bodies, if we keep everything here within what we consider our heads, our minds, they serve no purpose. They will wither and die, I believe. So to shine more brightly, we also want to learn new ways of communicating those new ideas. Learn ways of communicating our curiosity. Because in communicating our curiosity, we can often find more information, more answers, more ideas from what we perceive as the outside world. From what we perceive as the other person. Within this oneness. So, how can I shine more brightly? I allow the old leaves, the dead leaves to blow away, and I allow my curiosity to shine. I allow my thirst for knowledge to shine, and I allow my communicative skills to begin to shine again. To begin to reach out. And I also embody the star, which is the card before the moon, right? The star. The card of hope, the card of faith and optimism, the card of renewal, which is a perfect answer to how do I shine more brightly after I've made my breakthrough from my breakdown. Rediscovering my hope, rediscovering my optimism. Also, the star for me is the card of the North Star. It's a card of having a direction, having my own true north, knowing where my true north is, where I am going. Which is tantamount to being open to the flow of intention, right? My intention is flowing in the direction of what we would otherwise call our North Stars. And you have your direction, and I have my direction, and often our directions will cross, will intermingle, and sometimes will separate. Not entirely separate because no connection is ever disconnected in this oneness that there is. But as we flow with our intention, we're flowing towards our North Star. So that's also part of the star. It's moving in the direction of my intention. That's how I shine more brightly. And the more brightly I shine, the more I'm moving in the direction of my North Star. And the more I move in the direction of my North Star, the more I shine. They build upon each other. So how do I shine more brightly? I find hope. I find ideas. I move in the direction of my North Star and I communicate. I try to communicate in new ways. So let's take a look at that second question, because it moves very nicely from what we were just thinking about. The next question is a perfect question, moving from how can I shine more brightly? We move into what can I give? Remember, the Page of Swords communicates. That's a kind of giving, right? So, what can you give? What do you think you can give as you live your intentional life? We have two answers to this question as well. The first one is the Wheel of Fortune, and the next is the seven of sparks, which in Rider-Waite-Smith's is the seven of wands. And frankly, this is a little bit of a difficult read for me. What can I give? The Wheel of Fortune is usually the card of cycles, of things turning, being up on top and then moving back down, the cycles of the year, cycles of fortune and misfortune. How do we give those things? How do we give a cycle? Some people think of it as a card of good luck. How do I give good luck? That's not something we think of giving, right? I think, what can I give? The Wheel of Fortune is telling us that I can give everything when I have it. Now, in this card from the Tarot de Sheet, you see a woman holding, she's a sheet, a female-looking sheet, is holding a bowl of bountiful produce, of harvested foodstuffs. And you see in the background that there are different seasons somewhat expressed, which is an idea of the Wheel of Fortune, certainly. So she is there, she has harvested, she has a bounty, and she is giving it. She's ready to give it. However, there are going to be times of the year when that bowl is going to be empty because it's not growing season, or the growing season has just begun, or we've already eaten everything from the growing season and things are starting to shut down now. So what can I give? I can give what I have when I have it, and not beat myself up when I can't give what I don't have. Because there are going to be times when I've had my breakdown. And when I'm in that breakdown and healing portion of the wheel, I'm not going to have anything to give. And if I burden myself with needing to give what I don't have, I am going to keep myself stuck in that broken down state. I'm going to stay broken if I feel like I'm not fulfilling a responsibility to give what I don't have. So, when I don't have to give, the first thing I want to realize is I can give nothing. I can give what I have. Or perhaps I can give attention. But there are going to be times when we don't even have that strength. We don't have the power to give attention. When there are times when we are that broken down. And that's got to be okay, that we can't give at those times. So I think that's what the Wheel of Fortune is reminding us, that we give when we can, what we can. If there are apples today, I'm not going to beat myself up for not being able to give oranges that I gave a month, or that I gave last year. The next answer is the Seven of Sparks, the Seven of Wands, which is often seen as a fairly negative card. A card of standing your ground and beating off the competitor. So am I giving beating off, or am I giving beating away other people? Or am I called to be the protector of other people? Actually, I don't think it's either one of those, really. I don't think it's either one of those. Now let's think of what the Seven of Wands, the Seven of Sparks, is. It's a card of challenge as well. Do I want to give challenges? I don't think so. It's a card of protection. I suppose I could enlarge my sphere of protection for others, but we want to remember that when we are protecting ourselves, we are not flowing with our intention. Now, the more we protect, protection and having boundaries are different things. Having a boundary that I will allow this much is not exactly the same as being protective. Being protective is resistant. Having boundaries can be allowing. So protection, we may want to do that from time to time, realizing that we are resisting and we are not taking advantage of the powerful flow of intention. The Seven of Sparks, the Seven of Wands, is a card of perseverance and tenacity. Can I give that? Can I give perseverance? That's something we need to discover for ourselves. However, for this deck, what do we see? We see a woman with her hands somewhat like this, they look like flames shooting out of her nails. And the book for this card describes it as mighty energy. Energy that cannot be chained or imprisoned. None can put out her flame. So, I think this is what the answer to this card is. I can give the energy I have. Yeah, I can give the produce that I have when I have it. I can also give the energy that I have. I can give my passion in that I can work for others. I can lend my passion, my energy to another person. When I have that energy that cannot be chained, that cannot be imprisoned, I can share that with others. I can share energetically, sure. I may not be able to give perseverance, but I can give energy, I believe. So that's what I can give. I can give the things that I have when I have them, and I can give my powerful energy when I have it. Let's look at that third question. The third question is, what do I value? What do you value? Love, relationships? Probably all of the things you value are going to be shown in these two cards. Because these two cards, I believe, show a spectrum of valuableness. I'm not going to say things because I think things are not something that we should really put much value in. Things like watches and cars and houses and bicycles. Now those things are not what we really value. They're things we experience and we can enjoy, certainly, but what do we value? Like, as in, what are our values? What do we value? First card is the Zero card, the Fool card, and that is wonderful because that is one end of a wonderful spectrum. Now, the Fool. Who is the Fool? He is the card of beginnings, of innocence, of spontaneity. He's the free spirit, or she is the free spirit. Now, in this card, we see, instead of the well-dressed young man about to step off a cliff with his cute little dog in the Rider-Waite Smith, we've got this she taking a leap into what I see as the sky. And as this being is a she, I fully expect that this being is going to be able to fly, especially if it's an upright card. So, I'm not worried for this Fool. This Fool, I'm certain, will be able to walk on clouds. The card of beginning, starting journeys. The card of innocence and purity. The card of spontaneity. Not having to figure out, well, if I do this, then this happens, and what if that happens, and oh my God, I need to plan for this, but seeing an opportunity and going for it. The free spirit. We value that, whether we allow ourselves to recognize it or not. We value that. That's how we came into this world. That's why we came into this world. We came into this world as free spirits, and we value ourselves as free spirits in this physical universe with free will. And the next card is perhaps the other end of that spectrum. The 10 of sparks. The 10 of, spirals, not sparks, spirals. The 10 of pentacles, which is the end of the minors, especially for that suit. But if you put pentacles at the end of the minors, which some systems do, put the pentacles at the very end, and the 10 of pentacles is practically the end of the whole deck, depending on where you put the court cards. So the 10 of spirals, the 10 of pentacles, is the card of wealth, of financial security, of stability, of family, of long-term success, and of contribution. Making a contribution to the world from a base of security and success. Because it's not a card of hoarding, it's a card of contributing as well. Now, when we said a card of wealth, we're not talking about Bitcoin and diamonds and stocks. We're not talking about that kind of wealth. We're talking about the wealth of spirit, the wealth of experience, the wealth of maturity, the wealth of understanding, the wealth of security, which is another one of the meanings of the 10 of Pentacles. Yeah, financial security helps. That's one of the meanings. But just general security, that I am feeling secure here, in this moment, in this physical universe. Whether here is in a mansion or it's in a wooden shack out in the woods, or it's living on the beach on a desert island with no one or nothing else around. If we are feeling secure there, that's the 10 of Pentacles. But it's also stability and family. It's a family legacy. So the Fool is individual, free spirit. And at the other end, it's our legacy, our family legacy, our biological family, or our intentional family, our selected family, our chosen families. Now, that connection and that legacy is the 10 of Pentacles. So we value those two ends and everything in between, I believe. And we don't live at one end or the other if we're living an intentional life. There are times when we are spinning off into some new adventure, footloose and fancy-free, and there are times when we're here with our people grounded, centered, stable, and secure. And there are lots of places in between those two. All of those are things that we value. Living an intentional life. Let's take a look at that fourth and last question. These questions lined up very interestingly, don't you think? First we had, how can I shine more brightly? Then I'm shining brightly, what can I give? So I'm giving, and what do I value? And now we're asking ourselves back, how can I express myself? Now we're moving back into expression, self-expression. Now, first it was light, and now it's another way of shining, our expression. How can I express myself? And our two cards are beautiful cards. One is the Sun card and one is the Judgment card, and they're both majors, and so this is an important thing we want to pay attention. This is a big, important thing that we want to remember, I believe. We've had a lot of majors in this spread. Now we've got the Wheel of Fortune, we've got the Star, we've got the Fool, we've got the Sun, and we've got Judgment. So this is a very meaningful spread in tarot parlance. a very broadly speaking, important spread. And so how can I express myself? The first card is the sun. Now we moved from the moon in that first card, we've been healed by spirit, we look gently with the light of the moon, and then we break through. Now, after our shining, giving, valuing, we're here and ready to express, and we're ready for the light of the sun. We're ready for that positivity. We're ready for that fun and that warmth. The success and vitality of the sun. Now, we have healed enough. We've healed enough to be able to take all of that energy and express it into the world. Because it takes great openness, great allowing to be able to express the sun into the world. To be able to express positivity. To be able to express fun and warmth into the world. And here in this card we see not just one person. We see one she connected, holding hands with another she, holding hands with another. And many, many she are spiraling around a central, perhaps the tree of life. The central tree, the tree of the world. In medieval times, that tree of the world was also referred as anima mundi, the soul of the world soul. They're dancing around the world soul. And in joy, and in love, and in warmth, and in all of those very positive, pure state feelings. So that's how we can express ourselves, and that's how we want to express ourselves when we're living most fully intentionally. And then the next card, what is that? We've got judgment. And judgment, for me, is a card of rebirth. It's a card of awakening and hearing an inner call. So how can I express myself? I can express my new self every moment. Because we are reborn every moment of every day if we are living intentionally. Now that rebirth is not a one-time event, or a two-time event, or a three-time event. Every moment of every day we are reborn inside of these beautiful bodies that we're creating. It's the card of awakening, and I can express that awakening as I experience it. The inner call, when I hear my inner call to become, and to create, and to experience, and to move with intention, I can express that as well. I can share that with those around me. It's the card of epiphany, waking up, awakening, and I can express that as well. It's the card of spiritual realization. And just as Spirit healed us, in the sun we can reawaken to the spirituality that is us, the spirit that is us, and we can express that. And that's what living an intentional life is. Frankly, it's expressing our spirit into the world. It's expressing our spiritual realization into the world and creating this wonderful, potentially wonderful experience of creation in the world. We can express ourselves in our awakening and in our love and joy and exuberance and celebration of being in this physical world. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense how we get from that breakdown to a breakthrough to expressing ourselves in joy and living intentionally? Open to the powerful force of intention. I'd like to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below what resonates, what doesn't resonate with you, what still seems unclear, or what has become clear. I'd love to hear from you. So friends, hit the like button if you feel like this has had some meaning for you. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell if you want to get notifications of when I upload videos. Share this with someone who you think might get some benefit from it. And comment below. I really would like to engage with you. And friends, now, as always, remember there will be information about these decks coming up in just a moment. And as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.